welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're diving into AI, but not just the surface level stuff. You guys sent in, well, a really interesting mix this time. Articles, newsletters, even a podcast transcript, kind of meta, right?
Yeah.
And we're here to, well, help you cut through the noise and get to what really matters.
Exactly. We're going beyond the hype to see how AI is actually being used out there, the real challenges it's facing, and what it all means, for businesses, for individuals, for you.
Okay, so let's unpack this. One thing that really jumped out at me was how much AI is shaking things up, even for the big players. We're seeing Google, for example, they're moving their whole Gemini chatbot team over to DeepMind. And this isn't just some reorg. It signals a real shift, I think, in how they're thinking about developing AI.
And what's interesting here is that Google seems to be, in a way, acknowledging the elephant in the room, which is OpenAI. Even though they're newer to the game, OpenAI's tools, especially for developers, they just seem to be more user-friendly. They're getting adopted more quickly.
Yeah. And it's not just Google feeling the heat. Microsoft, even though they're OpenAI's biggest investor, they're starting to get a little nervous about relying on them so much. Like, everyone wants a piece of the pie, but nobody wants to share.
It really highlights this balancing act these companies are trying to pull off, right? They need to collaborate, sure, but they also don't want to become too reliant on any one player. High stakes all around.
And speaking of OpenAI, did you see that article about someone getting ChatGPT to run on a TI-84 calculator? Remember those from school? I mean, that just seems wild.
It really goes to show how accessible this technology is becoming. The fact that something that sophisticated could be running on, well, an everyday device like that, it's incredible, but also, a little bit concerning. Just think of the potential, but also the risks.
Right. And speaking of potential, we have to talk about investment, because things are really heating up there. One report you shared said nearly half of companies are ready to spend, get this, over $1 million on AI in the next year. $1 million. That's a lot of money.
It shows you how seriously businesses are taking this. But it's not just about jumping on the bandwagon, right? The key thing is, and this is what's really interesting, most of the companies already using AI are seeing a return on that investment. This isn't just hype. It's making a real difference.
So this isn't some far-off future thing. This is happening now. Companies are seeing results.
Exactly. And it really feels like those who can figure out how to integrate AI effectively, they're the ones who are going to have a real advantage moving forward. It's not a question of if, it's when and how well.
And it's about so much more than just chatbots and, automating things, right?
Right.
I mean, some of this stuff feels like it's straight out of science fiction.
Absolutely. Like colossal biosciences, for example. They're using AI to try to bring back extinct animals like the Tasmanian tiger.
It's like rewriting history.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder, what are the ethics of all this? It's exciting, but it's also a little bit,
It really forces us to grapple with these big questions, right? Like, do we have the right to do this? To bring back something that's gone extinct? It's a debate that's just getting started.
It's like we're stepping into some uncharted territory here. And it's not just colossal, right?
Yeah.
You have Sam Altman and his WorldCoin, or I guess it's just World now. Remember that whole thing with the eyeball scanning? It felt very, Black Mirror-esque.
Yeah, it was a little out there. But it seems like they're shifting gears a bit, focusing more on digital identity now, which, of course, comes with its own set of challenges.
It's like they're trying to be the gatekeepers of who we are online. And, while we're on the topic of trust and all that, one article highlighted how the U.S. Treasury used AI to recover something like $4 billion in potential fraud last year.
That's a pretty powerful example of AI being used for good, right? Protecting taxpayer money, preventing financial crime. It's a big deal.
Talk about putting AI to work.
Yeah.
Although, on a lighter note, we also have that story about the Meta employees who were trying to use their free meal vouchers to buy, household goods. Some things never change, huh?
It goes to show, even with all this technology, you still can't always outsmart people. But it also highlights the need for, good oversight, even when you have AI in place.
Right, it's only as good as the humans using it.
Oh.
But on a more serious note, it feels like this whole issue of controlling AI, making sure it's used ethically, that's becoming more important than ever.
Absolutely. The potential for bias, for spreading misinformation, it's a real concern. One of the articles you shared talked about this search engine, Kagi, and how they're actually downranking AI-generated content to try to combat this.
Which is interesting, because on one hand, you want accurate information, right? But then AI content is everywhere now. How do you even tell the difference anymore?
It's tough. And that's what makes Kagi's approach so interesting. It highlights this need for more transparency, more control over how AI is being used to create and share information, We need to be able to trust what we're reading, what we're seeing online.
And then you have things like invisible Unicode, which sounds like something out of a spy movie.
Mhm.
This article was talking about how you can actually hide text within AI models that's totally invisible to us.
Yeah, that's a pretty unsettling thought. I mean, think about it. AI models being used to spread hidden messages, or even worse. It's not hard to imagine how that could be used for malicious purposes.
It's like something out of a sci-fi novel, but it's real. This constant back and forth between like trying to make AI safe and ethical and then people trying to exploit it. It's kind of scary, honestly.
Definitely a cat and mouse game. And that's why it's so important to have people working on, developing AI systems that can detect these kinds of threats.
And we can't forget about Nvidia.
Yeah.
They've always been huge in computing, but now they're really jumping into AI with their new Llama 3.1 Nematron 70B Instruct. Kind of a mouthful, but it's making big waves.
NVIDIA's definitely not just content with being the hardware guys anymore. They want to be a force in AI software, too.
It's a big shift for them.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to see how it all plays out. More competition is usually a good thing, but he also has to wonder about, ethics, privacy.
It's a balancing act, for sure, and it feels like we're just getting started.
Right. I mean, we've covered so much in this deep dive already, from the really exciting stuff to, well, the potential dangers. It feels like AI is at a real turning point right now. It's like we're at this point now where AI, it's not some far-off thing anymore. It's here, it's now, and it's really changing everything.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's everywhere, even if we don't always realize it. And that's why these conversations, with thinking critically about all this, it's more important than ever.
It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, the possibilities.
Yeah.
But we can't forget, AI is a tool, right? And like any tool, it can be used for good or well.
Exactly. It all comes down to us, to the choices we make.
One article talked about how AI is being used to help mediate conflicts, even create art, which got me thinking, I mean, if AI can help us understand each other better, be more creative, isn't that like a huge opportunity?
It's a fascinating idea, and there's definitely potential there. I mean, AI can process so much data, right, about how we behave, how we think. Maybe it can uncover things about ourselves that we never even realized.
That's like holding up a mirror to humanity, but powered by algorithms.
In a way, yeah. And who knows, maybe it can help us bridge some of those divides, find more peaceful solutions, even push the boundaries of what we think is creatively possible. It's exciting to think about.
It really all comes back to how we use it, right? Not just the technology itself, but our intentions, our choices.
100%. AI isn't destiny, it's a tool. And like any tool, it all depends on the person holding it.
That's a really good point. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here today, from, well, the amazing potential of AI to some of the risks we need to be aware of.
It's a journey, that's for sure, and it feels like we're just getting started.
Definitely. And as we go further down this road, the important thing is to stay informed, to keep asking questions, and to really think critically about the choices we make.
Couldn't agree more, because ultimately the future of AI, it's not predetermined, it's something we're all creating together.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap things up. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of AI. We hope you learned something new, and most importantly, that we've given you plenty to think about. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and as always, keep diving deep.